for the family, standing for the church, laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture. This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
And we welcome you to another broadcast from the AFA Today studios. AFR Talk, AFA Today is the broadcast. I'm Kevin McCullough. The phone number is 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. Welcome to a new day, America. Guess where we are? We're in the land of we do jolly well whatever we please. And we just say, the people that we think that we're working for, oh, you guys are just a bunch of nutty, fruity guys. We're not paying attention to you anymore. We're the elites. We're the elites. We're elected, man. We get to do what we want. That's the new theme of the administration. That's the theme of the public service that's being performed for us from Capitol Hill. Follow any rules? Look, last week I told you about this, and I said that there was a reason why it was troubling me, and let me be very, very specific. Remember when the president came out and said, "Well, let me be clear. We're going to go just randomly change how we're going to implement Obamacare, and we're just going to do it." And then guess what? Today, round 2 of Obamacare enrollment, it's just going to be put off. The administration is just going to delay the start. Now, the law says you have to do it by the book, and you're supposed to do it according to the law, when the law says, according to how the law is laid out. That's the way laws work, actually. If they're anything other than just meaningless words typed on paper, then you have to pay attention to them. Except if you're this administration. Then you don't have to do anything, except whatever you jolly well please. It's the jolly well whatever we please administration. Hello, I'm President Jolly Well whatever I please. Welcome to whitehouse.gov. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney and the Department of Health and Human Services officially confirmed the change today. The decision does not affect those trying to enroll this year, despite the myriad of problems with the launch of the law and the healthcare.gov website. Rather, it affects those who will sign up late next year for 2015 coverage. The administration will allow consumers to start signing up November 15th, 2014, as opposed to October 15th. Enrollment will last until January 15th, 2015, instead of December 7th. House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Fred Upton, a Republican from Michigan, questioned why the administration would delay the second round of enrollment and not the current one. Another day, another delay begs the question, does the president think enrollment will be just as bad next year? Oh, by the way, did you notice this? Did you notice how they do this? This is pretty ingenious, if you ask me. I think they pulled one over on us here, actually. They delayed the second round of enrollment to not begin until we're past the 2014 midterm elections. Was that by accident? Who am I to say one way or the other? Who am I to read the motives of why politicians would say they were delaying this? Who am I but the Weasley little talk show host, Kevin McCullough, who would just point out that, that's what they did. I know if I attach some sort of motive to it, that makes me some sort of terrible, demonic human being, and I can't, I can't think a thought for myself, because if I do, then I'm showing disrespect for your great thinker. We are supposed to do exactly as the one has commanded. There will be no thinking. But I just saw it, so I thought I needed to mention it, that they delayed the requirement to be now past the 2014 midterm elections. They somehow get another, year now to, what did I say? Do jolly well whatever we please. It's the jolly well as we please administration. We say jolly a lot around the holidays, don't we? So we can invoke that. It's the Barack Hussein jolly well as we please Obama administration. And friend, that's the minimal part of what they did yesterday. That's the part that I actually don't care too much about, because I actually think this whole thing's going to just internally. Hey, Britt, did we find that sound effect? Oh, I sent him on a shopping spree last week. Go find me a nuclear implosion sound. Every time I say Obamacare in the future, I want to hear coming back. But I think it's going to implode like that. I think it's going to be like a nuclear test in the North Korean underground. It's just going to see a big cavern just drop out of the earth. But yesterday, we did see some naked power grabbing. And I know that I shouldn't associate the word naked and Harry Reid ever in a sentence in the English language, but it was necessary because he was the one that was doing the naked power grabbing. Allah Pundit over at hotair.com described it. It's not a 10 megaton bomb. This is a 10 kiloton bomb that went off. Because yesterday, Harry Reid, the majority leader in the U.S. Senate, said the need for change is so very, very obvious. It's clearly visible. It's manifest. We have to do something to change things. Twice earlier this year, Democrats had threatened to move on the nuclear option in the U.S. Senate. This is the option to do away with the requirement of 60 votes to break a filibuster. They had threatened to move on the nuclear option in face of Republican opposition to nominees, but both times an agreement was reached to avert the move. Senator John McCain told reporters Thursday he had been working night and day to find an agreement at this time, but he had thus far had no success. Reid said that the gridlock made it necessary for the Senate to evolve. Sounds a lot like transformational change, doesn't it? That was what we got in 2008. That's worked really well, hasn't it? It's time to change, Reid said. It's time to change the Senate before this institution becomes obsolete. I don't know if I'm going to be the first to tell you this, but I sure won't be the last. I know that much. Harry Reid didn't always feel that way. In fact, just in 2005, he was saying something just a wee bit different. Take a listen here.
For people to suggest that you can break the rules to change the rules is un-American. The only way that you can change the rule in this body, a rule that now says to change a rule in the Senate rules, to break a filibuster there still requires 67 votes. You can't do it with 60. You certainly can't do it with 51. But now we're told that they're going to do the majority, going to do the so-called nuclear option. Come in here and have the vice president seated where my distinguished colleague and friend from Nevada is now seated, and he would just say the parliamentarian, which would acknowledge that it's illegal, it's wrong, you can't do it the way we're going to do it, they would just overrule it. It would simply be, well, we're going to do it here because we have more votes than you have. You would be breaking the rules to change the rules. Very un-American.
All right, so, wow, in 2005, which isn't even another century or decade for that matter, Harry Reid said, no, we shouldn't be changing the votes for the minimum number of votes required to break a filibuster. And they did this yesterday on judicial and executive nominees. There's a lot of speculation about why they did this, by the way. They may be stacking, this is what Ted Cruz said, they may be stacking the D.C. District Court because that's the court that everything about Obamacare and all the corruption, everything else is going to come through. That's the one that it's going to be reviewed at. Oddly enough, they didn't change the rules on Supreme Court appointments, but Allah Pundit over at Hot Air asks a very insightful question, as he often does. He said, what is it about this that will keep them from eventually changing the rules on filibusters of all sorts? See, the reason that we have the Senate set up the way we do is actually so that it is not like the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is just majority control. The Senate is not designed to be representative of the democratic process. It's designed to be representative of a republic process. It's designed to require more checks and balances to balance out the relative lack of checks and balances in the United States Congress. And then the two bodies working together provide a number of checks and balances on the executive branch. So the executive branch can't just write laws and then say, this is my law. That would make them a dictator or a king. Not that anyone would confuse this administration with wanting to be dictatorial or monarchical. That's even a word. I don't think it is. But at the end of the day, the deliberative weight of making votes harder in one body as opposed to the other actually serves a very strategic legislative purpose, and that is balance. So that you have to have an understanding of the majority will of the people to get to a place where certain decisions are made. And it's so important to have such a supermajority of people in agreement on that. They felt like that's what executive and judicial nominees deserved. That you couldn't just do it by a simple mob rule kind of thing. So Harry Reid yesterday, it's very obvious the change for need is the need for change. Man, I'm talking backwards today. It's like I'm Yoda or something. The need for change is very, very obvious, he says. Very obvious. He says it's clearly visible. It's manifest. We have to do something to change these things. Well, if you're over on onenewsnow.com, my good friend Fred Jackson made sure that I let all you guys know this today. You can actually go and see, and I don't know, maybe forward to all your friends the actual speeches of Harry Reid and Barack Obama and former Senator but Vice President Joe Biden. I almost forgot about him. He's become so irrelevant. Actually saying the opposite of what they said yesterday. The president said yesterday, this is the time has come, that the corruption is so bad that the ability to obstruct anything going forward positively in the Senate is so bad that we have to do this. And he said basically if we don't do it, it's going to be disaster. But see, that's not what he said a number of years ago. Listen to the president from 2005, because this is what he had to say.
And keep quiet. The American people want less partisanship in this town, but everyone in this chamber knows that if the majority chooses to end the filibuster, if they choose to change the rules and put an end to democratic debate, then the fighting and the bitterness and the gridlock will only get worse.
All right, so that was the president in 2005 saying that the gridlock's going to get worse if we don't, if we do this. Friends, this is the most naked grab-at power we've seen a party exercise in some time. They made all these speeches in 2005, by the way, not because the Republicans were actually going to change the filibuster rule. They had just floated the idea to the press, and it sent panic through the Democratic hearts, and they just started palpitating, and so they had to get up and make speeches and so forth. But there wasn't a serious plan underway to do what they did yesterday. They changed the rules. In Harry Reid's own words, they changed the rules by breaking the rules so that they could then change the rules. That's by Harry Reid's definition of what they did. Your reaction to the takedown of the filibuster in this kind of naked and ostentatious way where they just said, we don't care what anybody thinks. We don't care what anybody says. We're going to do this. 888-589-8840. Your thoughts on that. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. But the president, the Senate Majority Leader, and the Vice President all saying in 2005, this is not a good idea. What changed their mind? And what has changed your mind about them because of this? Has your mind been changed because of what they did? I want to know your thoughts on that. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. I'm Kevin McCullough. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk.